Like, am I the only person that feels this way? The other parents feel the exact same way. Their life's just as chaotic.
So, I mean, we really rip off the Band-Aid of just chaos and throwing us into the mix.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Now that might get annoying, but 30 seconds, hopefully.
Would be obnoxious, yeah.
It's not too annoying. So apologies if that annoys you, but it's just good fun. It's just good fun.
Yeah, and I'm going to be completely honest. I think and it was pretty obvious on New Year's Eve, I struggled with this. I struggled with changing.
But, that was just, it's a new element in our lives that we're just going to have to get used to some degree. And he's like, oh, yeah, they were totally making out in there. I don't recall. Like, great, I'm looking forward to those days. We're your average next door neighbor that you never see.
I would say that's one area of our life that, our cup probably needs to be a little more full.
As much as our schedule won't allow. And that's a horrible excuse, but I know that the schedules during these times of your life are sun up to sundown. And even after that, there's just no time for that.
I think most people pretend that they've lost, but they don't.
Yeah. Part of what we're doing here is cataloging what we're doing well and what we're not doing well.
Right, because I think there's times when we do that really well and we can celebrate it. And then there's days when you lay your head at night going, man, I wish I would have done that differently. And
fast forward literally 2 weeks. I mean, what has it been? 15 days since that time?
I blew out my knee. And
1 pound a year from this point on is a lot of weight to gain. And I'm just not ready to give in on that one yet. So what's the saying? It takes a town?
Oh, it takes a village.
Oh, it takes a village.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes an entire city.
We definitely don't have all the right answers, but we've managed to trip through life and make it this far.
If we're not laughing, then you're probably not doing it right.
But what we realize as you mature is you really have no idea what you're doing.
Welcome to the Mr. and Mrs. Inglis Podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Shaen. We're here to talk about the wild ride of raising kids, growing careers, keeping life together in the middle of all the chaos.
So buckle up, because we're all in this crazy journey together.
Okay. All right. Well, here we are. We're sitting here in the chairs. You excited to do this?
I'm excited to do this.
All right. Well, let's jump right on into this. This will be the first episode of Mr. and Mrs. Inglis.
Yes, which is exciting. I've never listened to a podcast before. I'm gonna out myself right away. And so it'll be a little bit trial by error, but you are an expert on this now. So I do feel like I'm in good hands.
Well, you started right off lying to people. You have listened to a podcast because you listened to mine. Because I am, by expert, your opinion, I've got 9 or 10 episodes under my belt now.
Yes, Morning Serial. You are correct. I have been listening to Morning Serial every weekday.
That's right.
Since you launched mid-December.
That's right. At least one listener a day. It's actually more than that, which is surprising.
Which is fantastic. Without any advertising yet.
That's right. Yeah.
I think you've done a fantastic job, and I look forward to listening to it every morning.
Well, that was a really good plug that we did not plan on. So welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Mr. and Mrs. Inglis.
I'll start. Do we want to start with the introductions?
We can start with the introductions. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So I am Megan. I have a little bit about me. I was raised in the Midwest, Minnesota specifically, for the most part. And I am one of 5 kids. Yes, that is a large number in today's standards, but it was a lot of fun growing up. It was a crazy household. My parents did, from what I could see, a phenomenal job of managing all of the chaos that came with the 5 kids. I'm a graduate of the University of Iowa, and I've spent the last 20 years of my career primarily in corporate America in various finance roles. I did have a quick foray, and I did help Shaen when we were self-employed for a little while, and I know you'll probably go into that a little bit more. I was kind of your maybe right-hand person.
Maybe at some point, but yeah, definitely my right-hand person.
Yeah. And I've been your right-hand person for the last 20 years. So we met 20 years ago. We've been married for 17 years. We have 3 amazing kids. You'll hear a lot about them on the podcast because we will unpack quite a bit about raising kids and being married. But that's my intro. I'll turn it over to Shaen.
All right, well done. Well, I am Shaen, the other half, the lesser half of Shaen and Meghan, Mr. and Mrs. Inglis. I am almost a Midwestern boy, but not quite. I grew up in Colorado, which I've come to find out is not the Midwest, but the Rocky Mountains, which is fair enough. Grew up in Colorado Springs. I also grew up in a little bit of chaos, one of 4 children in a blended family. So we'll get into some more of that fun and the antics of that household as we get further into this. But I was in Colorado for 30 years almost. Then I ended up graduating from the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs. And then later in life, I got my MBA from the University of Kansas, so Rock Chalk Jayhawk. So we always laugh in our household that as long as we're cheering for the Hawks, we're okay, right?
Right.
Generally, Hawkeyes during football season and then the Jayhawks during basketball season. Although I will say, now that we have a football team, which I think we always have, we're actually just kind of winning now. Didn't make a bowl this year, but anyways, it's fun to watch both Hawks play football. So as Meghan mentioned, I have been entrepreneurial my whole life. I've had over a dozen companies bought, sold, started. Not all of them were great successes, and not all of them were failures either. So trials and tribulations through that, but ultimately pretty good, I think. So outside of those entrepreneurial endeavors, I've been in corporate finance my whole career. I've been, 25 years, quarter of a century, which is crazy to think about that now, in banking and finance. So that's the skinny kind of on me. We'll get into that more and more as we get along in this process. Obviously, not trying to make a whole podcast just about us, because that would be boring to some degree here. But maybe it's a good opportunity to get into why we think why we're doing this, and why we think it might be interesting for other people.
Yeah, and as you can tell from our introductions, we're very, hopefully, relatable people. Hopefully we look and sound a lot like people that you're friends with and you journey through life with. And that's ultimately why we wanted to create this. I've been fortunate enough in my time as a wife, as a mom, as a working mom, to have people who consistently share their experiences in raising kids, how to work through marriage things, and sometimes they did it great, sometimes they didn't, and they were willing to share it all, and it was such a learning experience for me. We often say in our house, it doesn't have to be your mistake to learn from it, and it also doesn't have to be your success to learn from it. And so we wanted to kind of share our story and share our journey along the way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, hearing people talk about it, talking with other people, it just helps you kind of get through it, right? Just knowing that you're not alone, that, oh, good, I'm glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. Because so often I feel like you go through life and you and I are close enough, and I'm sure other couples are the same way. But, at some point you start thinking in your head, like, am I the only person that feels this way? And come to find out when we're sitting on the sidelines at soccer games or whatnot that, no, usually you're not. The other parents feel the exact same way. Their life's just as chaotic. And it's nice just to kind of hear that and reverb that off of other people.
Right. And learn from maybe what they did and how, there's someone that you can journey with. And we hope that we can be someone that you can journey with.
Well, and we also feel that we have all the right answers.
I wish.
Yeah, no, that's not the case. We learn by trial and tribulation quite a bit as well. But, we've made it through 20 years, as you had mentioned. And, I think that's a testament to some things, that we've learned to figure things out. We've learned to make it through the hard times. We've had a lot of good times. And that's, as we kind of look back and lean on those different experiences, sometimes you have to lean harder. Sometimes you got to lean in harder. But you make it through, and, it's a journey, and we're learning every day. So the point ultimately here is just kind of for us to share kind of what's been happening over the last week or so. I think we're going to try to make this a weekly podcast, and just share kind of what's happened over the last week and what we went through and how we got there and how we learned or we failed at some of the things. Maybe we'll have a time frame where we can vent, because I don't want to make this whole thing. I could make this a whole hour about venting and what made me mad this whole week and this guy driving and this referee or whatever it might be. But the point is not to make it that way, right? We're going to try to share some things of what happened this last week, and maybe hopefully it's entertaining for everybody, and then kind of ending with looking forward to next week as well.
That sounds great. So, we've had, and this is a very, content-rich time frame, right? If we're going to talk about going through a journey and happenings, well, we just wrapped the holidays. So there have been a lot of happenings, at least in the Inglis household over the last month or so, that our highlights and maybe a couple lowlights that we'll walk through.
Well, the holidays are always best summed up for me, just like that Christmas vacation scene, right? When they're waiting for all the in-laws to arrive, everybody's sitting around normally, nonchalantly doing what they want. And then the doorbell, doom, doom. And it's like, oh my God, here we go. Because that's what it is. As soon as the holiday kind of rips open, you're on a fast ride.
Exactly. And our kids use the term, I don't know if this is out there all over, but it's seatbelt strap in. That's kind of how I feel like the holidays have been. And so, we kick off our real holiday season. We do a lot of the decorating, but the official start to the time off and the family time around Christmas and the holidays is a family ski vacation. So, I mean, we really rip off the Band-Aid of just chaos and throwing us into the mix.
Yeah, and it's funny because that started out as, I'm a Colorado boy. Megan used to vacation in Colorado, but you learned to ski actually in the Midwest.
They're like bunny hills. I mean, but a great place to learn.
But you're a better skier than all of us at the start. I mean, I grew up in Colorado, and I skied maybe once before I was 18, right? And that was... If anybody's from Colorado Springs watching this, the Broadmoor used to have a small, like, bunny hill there, basically. And I skied there probably when I was 7 years old. But after that, I mean, when we truly wanted to dedicate ourselves to skiing and getting our kids on skis, and we had to wait till they were old enough to do it. But once we ripped off that Band-Aid, I mean, you were obviously the best skier out of all of us for a while. And then I've kind of been able to catch up, and the kids have all caught up, because I would say you're the most conservative skier, though, too. So we were all a little more risky on this. So we've been doing this for a while, and the point here is that you've been doing it for a long while.
Yes, I've been doing this for almost 40 years now.
Yeah. And I will say, just before we get to the kind of the punchline of this whole story here, that the ski vacation started off as, hey, this will be a fun time. Let's just do it once or twice. We're not going for a long time. It's just 3 days that we're just going to literally hit it hard. We're going to fly in the night before, ski all day, sleep all night because you're exhausted after the first one, ski all day the second day, and ski all day the third day, and leave early and hop on the flight back home. Yep. So it's not an enjoyable vacation, but it's a fun one, though.
It's a fun one, and it is a fantastic way to bond and engage with your kids. Our kids open up. When you're sitting on a chairlift without iPads, without telephones, your kids talk to you, and you're out in nature. So whether you're a skier or not, getting out in nature, I think, really did help even the relationship and the conversations that we had with our kids.
We've had some great vacations. I know we're on a tangent here, but you're right. I mean, we go camping in Colorado as much as we can. We go whitewater rafting. Getting them out there in those elements, away from being plugged in, or just getting unplugged, I guess is probably the better way to say that, is fantastic. And the kids, even though at the time they may be reluctant, once they get into it, they love it. And those are some of their best memories.
Yeah. I think they would all agree that it's the best memories. I think they also love it now because they are all better skiers than me, and they can just, wait for me at the bottom saying, come on, Mom, hurry up. They can out-ski me. But.
So to that point, the reason we got onto this, now we're drawing it out here a little bit, but Megan is always the last one down the hill because she's the conservative skier. She's making sure everybody's safely getting down the hill, right? And now all the kids are good. We're all in blacks or whatever, but we mainly do blues pretty hard, looking for jumps and stuff like that. So we try to stay together as a family still. Anyways, we're on one of the back kind of bowls. You had to take quite a few lifts to get there. This last time, it's on the second day. And if you've seen the Instagram page, you kind of know where this is going, but
I blew out my knee. And I wish I could say I was doing it on a really cool jump, but as we've mentioned, I'm a pretty conservative skier. I did it in the most lame way. And sure enough...
So it was just a double backflip, not a triple is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. I did promise that I wouldn't tell how lame the story was. But anyway, without embellishments, I really did I caught my tip skiing and I blew my knee out. And so there was a big to-do getting me down off the mountain because, of course, it wasn't close. But I do want to say a huge shout out to the Keystone EMTs. It was really helpful. They were fantastic.
Yeah, and the other takeaway you got from it too, right, is that people do not like, as it turns out, if you're ever in one of those ski sleds that you got brought back down and brought up and back down to get all the way down to the ET, you do or don't, I don't remember, love people just staring down at you.
Okay, first of all, you're in it and you already feel like you're in a coffin. It was a little terrifying. And you're right, when we were moving through the hub, people were staring down at me as I'm being pulled in a sled, just looking down at you like I'm a, rat in a cage or in my coffin. I wasn't sure which, and I was not happy.
Yeah, but they did a great job. They did a great job getting you down. He actually went pretty fast. I mean, as nervous as the kids were, he went pretty fast down the hill. In fact, we didn't even keep up with you.
Trust me, I was more nervous. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Than you all.
So long drawn out way to say that unfortunately our Christmas traditions got interrupted a little bit this year, as they often can be. But the show must go on.
The show must go on, and it didn't. I tried not to let it ruin everyone's Christmas. We still had a great meal, and hopefully everyone enjoyed that and everyone had fun.
Well, and thank God that you wrapped most of the presents before, right?
I was a busy little elf before we went.
I don't know how everybody else does it, but there have been times where we've been up till 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve, actually Christmas morning at that point, I guess, still wrapping. And I don't know that we were procrastinating as much as we just didn't get to it or whatever. Life's busy. But this year you were on it, a busy little elf, and thank God we had like 10 gifts left to wrap that night when we got home on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, so it was that did help. It is really hard to get it all in. And I think sometimes the holidays can really feel like there's just so much. It's all good stuff. But how do you all fit it in? And how do you make sure you're still having fun and being present amidst all the chaos? I really think that this year, because I wasn't mobile, I actually got to enjoy a little bit more of the present opening on Christmas morning versus in my head planning out the next steps of the day.
Yeah. I think even outside of the holidays, I find myself doing that a lot. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate, but I have trouble just kind of unplugging and relaxing even outside of the holidays. If there's just the to-do list is so long every day. And it's not something that you've put. It's not a honey-do list. It's a Shaen, you should do this list that I've made up myself most of the time. That it's almost difficult just to sit and relax because I'm just counting the minutes and the hours sometimes that I'm not being productive. And you got to remember I'm being productive, making family memories and being there and being present for my children, which is hard. And it's sad to say because it's what you want to do most. But and maybe, I know it's not just me. I know there's other people that are like that, but your mind sometimes just won't let you do that. So I'm sad that was the way you had to make it happen, but I'm glad you got to maybe unplug and enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I would say on Christmas Day, you did a fabulous job of being productive and spending time with the kids because one of our big Christmas gifts this year was a trampoline for the kids. Now, we have said for years...
We gave in.
Yeah, we gave in. For years, we had said, no trampoline, no trampoline. It's kind of like, asking for a puppy and you finally give in after all these years. And so you had an opportunity, especially since I couldn't help in the least. You spent almost a couple hours, right, with the kids putting together the trampoline. And so you were productive and you created some great memories. Maybe a couple bickering moments.
They did pretty well. I mean, yeah, this harkens back to the whole, do you put the bicycle together the night before, and cover it with a blanket? And based on everything that had happened and the size of a trampoline, I mean, you can't really hide that, right? So I knew going into Christmas Day that was going to have to be done. Cece was a big help. She was here, which she usually is almost every Christmas. So she was a big help. That's Grandma. And the kids, yeah, they did a good job on it. It was nice. But the cats, I told Megan just, I don't know, maybe 2 days ago, the cat's kind of out of the bag right now that I've had to step it up, and I'm not bragging on myself here at all. I just, when your spouse can't get around, and you've been getting around much better lately, but previous to the last 48 hours, you've been almost immobile. I mean, the crutches are killing you, your hands are bruised. And I was laughing because I was like, the cat's out of the bag here. I'm doing so much more than I ever usually do. And not that I'm lazy, and hopefully you wouldn't say that. No. It's not that I'm lazy, but I'm popping up. She can't make her coffee on crutches and take it back to the counter, back to the chair that she's sitting in, right? So immediately I'm up. I got her coffee ready. I got this ready. I got the creamer out. that's one of a million things that I've figured out that I've had to do for her, trying to plan ahead and be proactive. And it's like, gosh, now she knows I can do so much more than just sit on the couch and eat chips. You know?
Well, I, for the record, Shaen has been amazing during the last few weeks. He really has been there every step of the way. As I try to step, he is always 4 steps ahead of me, anticipating what I need. The kids have helped out too. They've actually learned a couple chores.
They've stepped up. They've had to.
No, yeah.
Maybe reluctantly in some.
In some cases, they've been a little reluctant, but overall, all the way, right away, happy way has generally been followed. But, I think I already knew you could do all that stuff. So really, it wasn't like a huge revelation. I always knew you could do all that stuff.
But you just didn't expect me to do it.
Oh, no, I did.
Oh, I just haven't been doing it? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just like to be independent and do it. And yeah.
Well, you let me know when you're ready to take all that back on. And
I'll let you know when the independence needs to come back, yeah. And so it has definitely slowed things down a little bit in the holidays. And for us, holiday season is just the precursor to then what we have as birthday season. And so we go from craziness of holidays to just craziness of birthdays. So our youngest turned 11 a few days after Christmas. So that is always a bit of a challenge. We always joked like we didn't want a holiday baby.
We didn't want a holiday baby. We definitely planned for that without too much detail here. That was not the intention. And he missed it by 3 days somehow. But I always remember, and you and I have talked about this before, I'm a February baby. Yeah. And I always felt that even mid-February birthday was too close to Christmas, because I was always like, well, maybe I want something else for Christmas, like just steal one of my birthday presents, Mom and Dad, and give it to me on Christmas. And for our youngest, he gets Christmas, and then 3 days later, he gets all the the birthday ones. But I think, would we say that we cut that short even just a little bit because he's just received this mountain of other presents, I feel like, the 2 days before?
Yeah, because he almost doesn't recognize it or realize it or appreciate it because he's already had this mountain of presents, and now it's just a few
it's just more presents.
More to add.
I'll get to those. I almost wish at some point he may say, hey, let's do it over the summer.
Yeah, which he might. Because we can't have his birthday because it is so close to the holidays. I don't want to take people away from family, so it's hard to invite kids to a birthday party. But, we did recently have then his birthday party, a week or so afterward, and that was, again, all types of chaos. We had, quite a few 11-year-old boys running around. And
that was just 2 nights ago.
Feels like forever.
Yeah, that was just 2 nights ago.
But hopefully everyone, it was difficult, again, to go back to, I'm on crutches. We went to a place that had bowling and arcades. And, again, this is where you really stepped up. Now, you're the picture taker in our family. I'll go on record right now. He is the picture taker in the family. And he has been honing those skills over the years, which was great because I couldn't follow everyone around to take pictures or videos. And you made sure no one was getting hurt or doing things that they shouldn't.
That's a funny one. I'm just curious if other people have the picture taker spouse and the non-picture taker spouse, because I would suggest that I'm not a picture taker. I don't like taking pictures. I'd rather just not have to think about it, right? Yeah. But be by default, because you are clearly not a picture taker, I have to kind of jump into that saddle and kind of ride off with it.
Yeah.
Ride with it, whatever it is. But to that point, I have now trying to make these Instagram reels and all these kind of things. I don't know if it's annoying or if it's fun for people to watch those things. At some point it's like, good Lord, how many posts are these people going to do? So I hope it doesn't come across that way. When I post those things, I'm just trying to make sure people, because we have a lot of friends and family across the country. Not many live down here in Texas where we live. And so for them to be able to see some of these, 30-second, 1-second clips, that are kind of fun, hopefully it's not annoying to everybody else. It's just kind of sharing our life and our children's life, really, with family and friends that can't be here.
Exactly. And I know a lot of family who takes those and, takes those pictures that we post and repurposes them because we do live apart from family. And so I hope it's helpful for our friends and family. But it also speaks to just what we're really talking about on the podcast is the chaos. Like, you can see it, and all that we can shove into a week or a month makes for a pretty interesting little reel, even when you shorten it into 30 seconds or a minute.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Now that might get annoying, but 30 seconds, hopefully.
That would be obnoxious, yeah.
It's not too annoying. So apologies if that annoys you, but it's just good fun. It's just good fun. But speaking of, the holidays and new things and chaos and all that, our oldest, he, and we have to be careful how much we say on these kind of things, but he's got a girlfriend.
Yep.
And it's not his first girlfriend, but, it's his first girlfriend in high school now that he's a freshman. So it's kind of a bigger deal. And it was kind of a big deal on New Year's Eve. She came over to spend New Year's Eve with us.
Yeah. And I'm going to be completely honest. I think I was telling Shaen earlier today, they write a lot of parenting books. They write a lot of marriage books, but they don't, and they probably cover all these topics, but you would have had to know that you were going to feel some angst, or you would have to know how you were going to feel beforehand to read the book before it happened. And it was pretty obvious on New Year's Eve, I struggled with this. I struggled with changing our routine and our traditions that we had for New Year's Eve. Just as a side note, New Year's Eve is always a family time for us, and we do family games. And up until probably 2 years ago, we celebrated New York's New Year's and then went to bed. But we spend a lot of family time together. And this was the first time we had someone different. And I kind of struggled with the fact that my son wasn't going to be with just us. And I think it bothered me, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to each his own, obviously. It didn't bother me as much, and I don't know, some of that harkens back maybe to my upbringing. I had a couple high school girlfriends that I was very close to for different reasons and whatnot, but I mean, we did a lot with them. I mean, I hung out with their family. They came to our family events. So to me, it seemed somewhat natural, and it was kind of like that next step in growing up and seeing him do that. In fact, I was more worried about her parents, right? Who, super nice people. By the way, she's lovely.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. She's fantastic. She was super nice, super courteous, pretty little girl. But I was worried about her family because this might have been the first time they had to share their daughter or with someone else on New Year's. Like, this might have been the first time that she didn't spend it with them, and she spent it with us. She was here till 12:30 that night.
Right.
And I felt kind of bad. I mean, Dad dropped her off, and I don't know if maybe they're fine with that, and maybe they weren't. But I do appreciate them sharing her with us because she was fantastic.
She really was, and we had a lot of fun with her. And I would say I think back to who I was at 14 years old, and would I have had the confidence to hang out with someone that I didn't know super well? I mean, she certainly didn't know our family very well. She was so confident and kind, and she jumped in and played games with our family and laughed with us, and it was wonderful to have her. But it was different, and I will say I'm processing this, what is a very natural thing for a 14-year-old to go through and have their first boyfriend or girlfriend in high school. But it is different as a parent.
Yeah, it is. Well, and we had to, it was funny because I was trying to say, like, what do I say to her dad? Because if he was coming over here, and I want to make sure we have all the rules in place, no one's upstairs, no doors closed. And it was funny because they were watching a movie for some of the night in the front room while we were in the back, watching, the Dick Clarks and all that kind of stuff. I guess Ryan Seacrest now. Yeah. But, we had to, like, send the kids up there and make sure, like, hey, just make sure they know we're here. And he had his arm around her. It was very cute. All innocent. They're totally innocent right now. But, that was just, it's a new element in our lives that we're just going to have to get used to some degree.
Yeah, because it is very natural. So I know I'm sure someone else is feeling that way. If you have a 14, 15-year-old and they're just taking those first steps into dating, it is uncomfortable, but I talk to Shaen about it, and I make sure that it's like, well, this is normal. This is the process that they're supposed to go through. He won't remain a 3-year-old forever. He just needs mommy and daddy. Right.
Well, there'll be an evolution here to some degree. Wasn't it someone on our soccer team whose younger son kind of walked in on his older brother, and he's like, oh, yeah, they were totally making out in there. I totally to this case. I'm
recall.
like, great. I'm looking forward to those days.
Yeah, that's I have to shut that out of my mind for now. I'm still dealing with the first,
Yeah.
innocence of holding hands.
Yeah, step one. But ultimately, yeah, it's just fun watching the kids kind of grow up and see that. And I know we're lucky because all three of our kids are still at the house, right? And I'm so scared of the day when they want to go other places. Like with Halloween, our oldest went with his friends. Subsequently, I think that's where he really first spent some time with his new girlfriend now that they're official.
Yeah.
But, when the day does come and our kids are out, having New Year's with other people, it'll be sad for us, but that's part of the evolution of them growing up, and that's okay. I often joked, I didn't often joke, but I made the joke or comment, when we were talking about doing this podcast and who we are. And I think I made the comment that we're your average next door neighbor that you never see, right?
Yeah.
Because we're never home. And maybe, that's that natural evolution, though, of as your kids get older, you start plugging back into friends. Because right now, the circle of friends that we run with are on the soccer teams or on the track teams or maybe at school, people we see. We no longer, and maybe, I don't think we've dropped the ball here as much as our just schedule won't allow. And that's a horrible excuse, but I know that the schedules during these times of your life are sun up to sundown. And even after that, there's just no time for that. But maybe that'll allow us the time in the moments in our lives to kind of plug back in and kind of have more of those friendships with people our ages.
Right.
Which is healthy, which we need, which I miss. As introverted as I am, I do look forward to having those friendships. That social outlet is still very important and one that we don't get a lot of right now.
No, I think, we obviously, you mentioned it. Our friends are the people we spend time with on the soccer sidelines or by the track meet, or work too. I mean, so I've created great friendships through work and with coworkers. So I have a lot of conversations that way. But really outside of those arenas, I would say that's one area of our life that, our cup probably needs to be a little more full. But as our children spend more time with their friends, to your point, I think that'll allow us to be a little more out there in the world outside of soccer and work.
Yeah, because we are in our own little worlds here, but it's just difficult. And that's part of why we have this podcast, right? Just to suggest that there's other people in this too. I mean, we know that there's people on our soccer team that have kids that are doing other sports that are travel and competitive, and their parents are on other sides of the country any given weekend, just following their kids around. And they're talking to colleges now. So these times will come to an end. And you always hear people talk about it, enjoying this time, right? And I think we've got New Year's coming up. And one of the things that I want to, focus on is being in these moments, making sure in these few years that our kids are in the house left, right? And our youngest still has, 8 years or 7, I guess now. Our oldest only has 4, but really making sure we enjoy those years, enjoy those times with them. We make memories because as fast as our lives go, it's so easy just to say, hey, buddy, I'm busy right now. Hey, buddy, I'm working. Like, no, I can't do that right now. And I know I do that too much. When there's times when I would much rather, and I want them to know, I would much rather go do that with them. But again, that to-do list, it's that, the pressure of that to-do list and everything else that comes along with your day-to-day lives that gets you, but you really need to take the time to unplug. And I think that's a long-winded way to say is, one of my New Year's resolutions, if there's anything that, any truth to New Year's resolutions, is being more in that moment with our children. And that's part of what we're doing here is cataloging what we're doing well and what we're not doing well.
Right, because I think there's times when we do that really well and we can celebrate it. And then there's days when you lay your head at night going, man, I wish I would have done that differently. And, I think that's a great New Year's resolution. And I would like to adopt that one as well and enjoy the little moments. It doesn't always have to be a Christmas morning moment.
Yeah.
It can just be, our daughter helping me stir something on the stove, and just having a conversation about her day.
Yeah.
Or picking them up from school and hearing the stories. Of course, that usually comes from our daughter, not so much our sons.
How was school?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's fantastic to hear. I'm glad you had a good day.
Right. Whereas our daughter, we get a rundown of every class.
Difference between boys and girls.
As teenagers, absolutely.
It's incredible.
It really is.
Yeah.
As hard as that is to break away from work to go pick them up at school, it's really a great time to spend with them, to sing a song in the car or to hear about their day, good or bad. And so it's really, I agree with you. I think that should be my New Year's resolution as well.
Yeah, that probably will have more benefits long term than the New Year's resolution I had a few years ago, which was starting to floss every day.
Yeah, but you
I
are
did do.
still flossing every day.
And I passed it forward because someone else is now flossing every day.
I'm flossing every day too. That was my New Year's resolution last year.
Not that we have terrible oral habits here. We floss before, just not every day.
Right.
Yeah.
I think most people
Yeah.
pretend that they floss, but they don't.
Yeah, we have a separate, subscribers only whole podcast dedicated to flossing, oral hygiene, proper hygiene. So make sure you tune in for that.
Oh yeah. Plus, I mean, let's just be honest. We made it past Quitter's Day, both of us on the flossing.
Yeah. When is Quitter's Day?
Second Friday of the month.
Okay.
Yeah, and don't.
It's coming up for this year.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any New Year's resolutions for this year, other than the fact that I was just saying to you yesterday that I think it was like December 23rd or something. In my mind, I was thinking, hey, I've done pretty good this year about not gaining my holiday weight. Fast forward literally 2 weeks. I mean, what has it been? 15 days since that time?
Not even.
And I'm 5 pounds up. And not that I'm sitting here on the scale every day and really worried about this, but at certain ages, you do kind of have to watch. 1 pound a year from this point on is a lot of weight to gain. And I'm just not ready to give in on that one yet. So my New Year's resolution needs to also probably contain cutting back my caloric, making sure, I'm getting out and exercising.
Yeah, which you exercise all the time. So you're a once, if not twice per day exerciser. So I think that's incredible.
And you totally can't tell. That's just how much I eat. I eat just enough. We need to have like a little counter when we do this of how many times we gush on each other.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh, you're the greatest. No, you're so great.
You're
And it's
so
like
great.
ding, ding,
Yeah.
Yours will be higher than mine because you're actually really good at that. I don't think it's a natural thing for a guy to be gushy.
Yeah. Well, no, you're pretty gushy. You're good.
Oh, good.
I feel my cup is full.
I'll try to get at least 1 or 2 per episode if I can,
Yeah.
without being too annoying to people watching. Like, oh my God.
They're just cheesy. And you know what? I do think appreciation in a marriage is huge. And if you were listening to Morning Cereal, part of some of what you were talking about in Morning Cereal was that appreciation for those in your life, not just at work in a setting, but at
Yep.
home and in a marriage especially. And so when we do gush on each other, it is just appreciation because we do like to make sure that the other knows that they're appreciated.
Well, I didn't come up with that all on my own. I mean, there's a book review in Morning Cereal. So look it up, podcast. Right now we're going through Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And that was part of I think we're in chapter 2 when we talk about appreciation.
Correct.
But there's a lot of good points in that. So I guess that was a plug that we didn't need to have, but thank you for the plug.
Hey, I'll try.
So is there anything else that you wanted to talk through before we kind of get on to what next week is bringing us?
Yeah, no, I think, next week, I think we're jumping full-fledged into back to school, back to work. It is a full week back for nearly everybody. Practices start, games start again, and the chaos we may have hit pause for just a little bit, but it is back in full swing next week.
What I'm really interested to see how it works this week, because we have so many different places to go, is how the carpool works. Two drivers are necessary every night. And right now, the good news is for the last 48 hours, you've been scooting around without crutches with your brace on. Even before you go to the doctor, you go to the doctor this Wednesday, I think it is, to figure that out. But I am a little nervous because those carpools, super helpful. Thank you to our fellow carpoolers, especially knowing that they're actually really nice to us because we're only involved in it whenever we need to.
Yep.
Sadly, because we're at some place 3 or 4 hours longer than the soccer practice, so I'm parked out there.
Just waiting.
And it just makes no sense. But we do try to reciprocate as much as we can. And
Yes.
probably, what's the saying? It takes a town.
Oh, it takes a village.
Oh, it takes a village.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes an entire city.
I just wasn't sure what the difference between town and village is.
No, I think they're about the same. I don't know.
You know what's funny? I'm horrible at metaphors, and you'll get to know that on this podcast, but people that work with me know that. I mix my metaphors, and I'm sure you know that, all the time. So it takes a town. That's just the first example. That would be the other counter that we have up here. How many metaphors I get wrong.
Yeah.
But it takes a village is the way I believe it's said.
Yeah, it does take a village. And so it will be interesting. Hopefully I can be driving and I can really be part of the village as an active participant.
No, we'll see. We won't hold our breath, but speedy recovery to you on that, obviously. We also have a second birthday coming up this weekend of our birthday season that you've already mentioned. So
Yeah.
planning for that. And I'm not sure. It just seems like it's like prom now with birthdays.
Yeah.
And we got away with it for a long time. I don't know if it was COVID or what it was, but we did not have birthday parties for a good 5 years,
Yeah.
I feel like,
Yep.
where we did all this stuff. But now that we're getting back into it, I feel like some of the friends that we have, some of our children's friends, like it's like proms, these birthday parties. They're going out, they're doing this, it's that, it's a week-long event, and it's on the internet. There's all kinds of stuff going for it. So it's a whole production now just to try to keep up with the Joneses to some degree. Not that we try to do that, but we are planning and trying to make sure we give a good one, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, our daughter, she's going to be 13. So that's
Our second teenager.
second teenager. Just please pray for us. Again, we'll hear all about it through this podcast because we're on this crazy train together. But yeah, she's been planning it. She has an idea of what she wants to do. I think the challenge is going to be getting it in January, where we have a whole lot of travel ahead of us for soccer and track. So it'll be an interesting ride.
It will be. It will be. Well, I think, that probably sums up. When we did about a month of a sum up in this one. Normally it'll be a week. It'll be maybe a little bit more succinct and talking through some of the trials and tribulations that we've been through in each week. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. Hopefully people enjoy it. Hopefully people will see just how two people, kind of work through this, because we definitely don't have all the right answers, but we've managed to trip through life and make it this far.
Right. And hopefully, I said it earlier, it doesn't have to be your mistake to learn from it. So hopefully you all can learn from ours and get some entertainment. And maybe you're laughing at us right now. I'm not sure. And it's okay if you are, because sometimes if you're not laughing, then you're probably not doing it right. We laugh at ourselves all the time. Mm-hmm. And then we just pick ourselves up and move on to the next thing. And hopefully we do it right the next time.
I think ultimately for me, the whole thing just comes down to, even though I'm in the late 40s, which is weird to say because we all don't feel that way. Our minds stop growing in our mid-20s, it feels like, right?
Yeah.
But what we realize as you mature is you really have no idea what you're doing.
Right.
And you start getting this wisdom that, oh, you know what? My parents didn't have any idea what they were doing. We're all just writing the story as we go along.
Right.
So it's good to have a co-pilot here. And not everybody gets that, and that's okay. But you have good friends or good family that's acting as your co-pilot, right? Stepping in.
Right.
And I think there's just a lot to say about life and people just trying to make positive influences in it. And that's really all we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, maybe we sign off and...
Yeah, that's a sign off. We're going to have to come up with some sort of official sign off. Smartless has taken all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So we can't use that. But yeah, we'll just say bye and thanks for tuning in on this one. And we'll look forward to talking to you next week.
All right. Until next week. See ya.
See ya.